This is Steve Zeltzer. Central Valley agriculture workers are facing the brunt of the COVID crisis and a growing pandemic taking place in the valley. These are some of their stories.
I'm Ramon Real, pronouns are they, them, theirs.
I'm Francis Astorga, they, them, theirs as well.
So the working people in the Central Valley, specifically cannery workers, are being placed into these places that are non-ventilated areas, and there is a spike of COVID that's spreading throughout these canneries. And it's not just one cannery. These workers are 5 times more likely to get infected than other workers because they are enclosed in these places, in these spaces that are hard-working conditions to begin with heavy machinery, life-threatening machinery. And on top of that, these places are not following CDC guidelines. They're not following Cal-OSHA guidelines. And it's becoming to the point, well, it's not becoming to the point, we're already at the point where people are dropping like flies. And they don't care. They don't care. They're doing everything to make it impossible for people to turn in doctor's note excusing them from work, saying that they're not valid. What do you mean doctor notes are not valid? If I'm sick, I can't go into work. They're supposed to be encouraging people, if they're sick, to stay home, but they're not. They're still intimidating them to go back to work. They're putting a stop to unemployment. They're putting a stop to disability. So what's happening? These workers are being forced to go into work for minimum wage, $13 an hour. They have cut personnel. They have amped up production. So they're still running much more produce than they used to with less people at the same pace. And everyone's getting infected as well. And Francis actually worked in one of these companies and facilities.
Right, it's not just like ignorance or neglect, it's willfully putting people in danger. And so from my experience, when I worked in a packing facility, people were getting sick and they didn't notify the workers until 2 weeks after, when the season was over, and there was no point in notifying and people were just sick. Luckily, myself and my parent were able to not get sick, but there was many who were not as fortunate, and we don't know their status, but the only reason we found out is because of a phone tree. The employee who got sick notified everyone else. The facility did not follow any sort of laws aside, just common decency of notifying people to stay safe and value their lives.
And with things like that also, it's like we're also in danger as well. The workers are in absolute danger. There's this spread that is happening that they're terrified to go into. Within the past week, my cousin's grandma passed away, and then his uncle passed away 4 days later from 2 different companies. My aunt's company has 15 cases confirmed, and it's spreading. And think about it in this way too. These people are handling our food, and these companies are not following CDC guidelines. They're not following any kind of guidelines to protect these employees from getting sick. But if these employees are infected and they are handling what we eat, then it's just a matter of time until the outbreak starts to spread throughout the nation.
It's criminal.
It is criminal. It's absolute criminal.
And Cal-OSHA, Governor Newsom, are there any inspectors in these plants?
Not that I know.
Did you ever see any inspectors?
I heard that they might be coming through, and then on that day they made sure that we were 6 feet apart. They never came, and they never gave us working conditions that accommodated safe distance or ventilation or anything. And so no, the answer is no. We don't see the people coming through. Just maybe the threat of them coming through, and then maybe a day or a few hours of following procedures that should be followed at all times.
So do you think that the growth in the epidemic in California is directly as a result of the fact that workers are not being protected in the plants? Is that the...
Oh, I personally, I feel like it's highly connected. Because when you have these corporations that are not protecting the workers, these are hives. They're perfect for the spread of this virus. And so it's spreading very quickly. You have people who commute from the Central Valley out into different areas. So if you have people within the Central Valley, which is this bowl, right? And it's huge, and it's all made up of pretty much canneries and factories and farmland. And so when you have these factories that span from Chico all the way down to Bakersfield, and you have people that are commuting around that, like just like, well, here to the Bay or anywhere around, they're taking it with them. And to like go off a little bit about OSHA, there's been a report on one company in specific that when they have OSHA come through, or they've had 2 incidents where OSHA came to visit their plant, the facility shut everything down because supposedly they lost power. And so they weren't able to actually look at anything.
The systemic racism, you think the treatment of workers there has to do with the fact that black, brown, indigenous people?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody who's in charge are all these very powerful white people. And the ones who are making these regulations or rules are human resources themselves. Human resources who have become known as inhumane resources by the workers. There's been multiple reports that these workers cannot go to human resources to report anything because they get their doors shut in their face. They get laughed at for speaking Spanish. They are purposely made to sign things that they don't understand or know, that strips them away from their rights, that demotes them, that moves them to the most hardest places to work in. And all the people calling the shots happen to be white. What a coincidence. Everybody who's at the top.
I think that for me, the issue was kind of the mockery of the status where the workers were expected to sacrifice themselves while the owners of the facility were giving tours to their family members in flip-flops and shorts and no masks at the peak of the pandemic, risking the workers' safety as well as their own, yes, but it was, they're abusing their power and their status and really making fun and jeopardizing a life which is everything to every single person.
And these companies are the biggest agricultural companies in the world. I mean,
you go to the canned foods aisle, you will see those everywhere. You go to the fresh produce section, you'll see their bananas, you'll see all their fruit. And not just them, but these canneries also make food for Gerber, for places like McDonald's, places like Costco. Well, Costco's a place, but places like hospitals, jails, schools. So it's not just the grocery sections and places, right? These companies are some of the largest companies that export a lot of food and import a lot of food. And so they have a lot of money, yet there's people there who have been working there for 35 plus years that are still making minimum wage, who are in there risking their lives daily, that are still struggling to get by. And these are the people who provide us our food.
My name is Ramon Real, and I represent and lead in the Margin Theater Company. I am part of the Purepacha people, descendant of the Tarahumara, Raramuri, and the West Apache people. And I'm going to take off my mask. Now, the Central Valley, which lies on the lands of the Yakuts, has always been a land of abundance. To outsiders, the Central Valley is known as the armpit of California. But for those who call it home, it's the Golden Empire. The Golden Empire ranges 40 to 60 miles wide and stretches for approximately 450 miles north to northwest, south to southeast. It is the size of nations. And the Golden Empire produces not only our country's food, but the world's food. That's 13% of the nation's food, and that's 99% of almonds, figs, olives, peaches, artichokes, kiwis, dates, pomegranates, pistachios, raisins, sweet rice, plums, nuts, and walnuts, just to name a few. That's the #1 producer of dairy in the country since 1993. And the Golden Empire is home to the companies such as Dole, Tisdale, Houston Nut Company, Blossom Hill, Blue Diamond, Hilmar Cheese, Del Monte, Cisco. And today I'm here to speak to the neglect of the workers who make these companies run and who are the reason that the currency of the state is produce. I'm here to ask for help, but I am also here to provide support. Now, the lands of Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez and Corky Rodolfo Gonzalez organized is an essential component of ensuring rights for our BIPOC communities. And we are ready and organizing to demonstrate how essential we are to this nation. Yes, our workers are considered essential, but where is the care and where is the humanity? Where is the common decency? Where is the hazard pay? And why are workers being killed by COVID-19 for their neglect of these companies? Where is the hazard pay for the families who are working in these canneries? For the people who are being forced to go into these places of non-ventilated areas? Where is the hazard pay for people who are 5 times more likely to become infected with COVID? Where is the hazard pay for these companies, for these people, the companies that are ignoring OSHA standards? These companies are ignoring CDC guidelines. And people like Newsom are just allowing it to happen. People like Fisher are just allowing it to happen. And we are here to stand against people like them. Where is the hazard pay for risking injury, like the countless people who suffer from chronic pain because of their employment? Like the workers whose arms were cut off because of machinery? Like the workers whose head was smashed over and over and over for hours by machinery, and they didn't even know until 2 hours later when they found his glasses in the conveyor belt and blood spilled all over. Where was the care and the humanity for people like that? And so, these people who are feeding us are starving. These people who are feeding us are hurting. And these people who are feeding us are dying at an alarming rate. People are scared to go into work, but they are being forced to go into work because they are stopping them from getting unemployment or disability or workers' compensation. They are not closing these plants when they are finding that there are hives of COVID. Instead, they hide that information from these people. They hide that information. And instead, they intimidate them to keep going into work, into these conditions. And so I am here to stand alongside Oakland, and I am here to support the unions. I am here to support all of y'all, and I am here to stand against people like Fisher, to stand against these corporations, to stand against